Well, hello, guys, and welcome back to another edition of the Leadership Download. As you know, my name is Travis Van Duzen, back here with my friend Cameron Singh, and today we have another exciting podcast to share with you. Cameron, do you want to introduce our special guest for today?
Yeah, so today we're having on Don Overcash. So he is from the city that I currently live in called Loveland, Colorado. So he is on the city council of the city of Loveland. He's also the vice mayor. And his day job is he works for a company called um, Sandler Training. And so he's one of the trainers for this organization, and he focuses on, he works with various CEOs, business owners, and really helping them improve top line performance and bottom line profitability. And he truly has a passion for leadership. You know, I've had the honor of having developed a very good relationship with him, with Don. And so I really hope you guys enjoy this leadership podcast.
Yeah, so as if you enjoy this podcast today, please like, subscribe, share, whatever's appropriate for the platform you're listening to or watching this on right now. But we hope you enjoy. And here it is, our talk with Don. Take care.
Hi, Don. Well, thank you for taking the time to take the time of your day to discuss with us. I know you're a very busy person wearing multiple hats. So today's topic on the Leadership Download is going to be talking about success regardless of outcome. So, Don, to kind of preface this topic, can you introduce this to, what does this mean, success regardless of outcome?
Well, I think that's a good question. You know, we talk about success all the time, and being the beginning of the year, it's January. It's timely. People set goals and they start planning what their year's going to look like. But in that process, they often miss the components of what really can ensure success, regardless of how things turn out. And so they strive for a year. They become frustrated. People become frustrated. They lose direction, and they often give up. They often give up because they're afraid of the wrong things, or they're concerned about the wrong elements in a success triangle.
Yeah, and what is it that you think that that makes people give up? Because oftentimes it's so easy to give up. You know, we hit that roadblock, and I know this is fairly frequent for young leaders, is where they hit that roadblock and they just move on to something else.
Well, I think what often happens is leaders, or really, we're all leaders. We're all influencing people. We lose track of that, but so many times, I think people are focused on the roles they play in life, the nouns. You know, we're husbands, we're fathers, we're brothers, we're sisters, we're CEOs, we're salespeople. I work with hundreds of salespeople every year. I've been doing that for the last 20 years. We focus on the wrong thing. We're focused on the performance of our role. We're worried about what others think of us. We're worried about what we think of ourselves, but with the wrong criteria. And so then we start acting in a manner that's beyond our control, because we're focused again on the wrong element. We're focused again on our roles.
Okay.
That we perform, which are many, and that's a losing game. That's just a matter of time. That's a card game with a stacked deck. It's going to work against you if that's where you get your identity from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of identity, that's really the first area we wanted to touch on with this topic called success regardless of outcome. I know there's studies out there. I know the Harvard Business Review has done a study that success comes from first affirming your own potential and identity. So how does a leader or emerging leader, who is our audience that we're speaking to today, truly find their identity? Because this is, of course, the utmost first priority that we need to do as leaders.
Yeah. Well, I think in our society, and maybe others, but I've only lived in the United States, so I can't speak for other parts of the world. But I hear this from my fellow Sandler trainers that operate worldwide, that there is a great deal of role confusion and identity confusion, or I should say identity role confusion uh, in our world. And people are focused more on their roles, and they get their identity from their role. Their MVP, they hit 350, they win the Super Bowl, they get the contract, they hit the bottom line at the top line and the bottom line with their numbers, and they lose. And that's, when you play that game, you lose a lot. Even a fantastic baseball player strikes out, and bats 300, he only succeeds 1 out of 3 times. And when you start focusing on outcomes instead of what it takes to achieve good outcomes, and that's where that identity role confusion comes in. So when I'm referring to identity, I'm referring to, how do people see themselves? How do they see themselves? Your attitude, your belief system is the lens that you look at the world through, and you take in information and you respond to. And if you're looking, if you don't know who you are, you haven't defined yourself, you're going to be driven by, naturally, there's a void there, and you're going to be driven by what others think of you. Now, it's important what others think of you, but what's important is not what they think of you, but why they think of you in a particular manner. And we miss that. We take the applause, we go for the awards, but we're really forgetting to develop and identify that inner self that becomes your lens upon how you view the world, take information in, and then work within the world, within our culture. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. To really talk about understanding your call, why is that so important in leadership? And I'm just taking that a little step further. How have you helped others develop the understanding of their call, of what they're called to do?
Yeah, it's funny. We're really good in our businesses. We'll talk vision statements, and then we get to mission statements, and then we'll talk about values, and we do all those things in our business plan, and maybe once a year. But just to circle back slightly, when I talked about identity, we need to define who we are. We need to define our essence, what's important to us, what's of value to us, in order to understand what we should be going about doing. I refer to it as understanding our call. What's the value? Because if we don't know what's important to us personally, because we don't know really who we are, we haven't defined that, we haven't taken the time to really stop and think about that, it's really difficult to understand what we're called to do, what our purpose is. So that's important. So to illustrate that a little bit, I train in this regularly, weekly, almost daily, but I'm looking up at a list of words that I have in front of me, and I've been keeping, and I add a new word every year that I focus on. And these are adjectives. They're words that people, if they were to ask me, Don, who are you? Tell me who you are. Well, I could start with a really big picture of why I am, but let me be more specific in examples. I say, oh, you mean what makes me tick? What drives me? What dictates how I'm going to function? Because this is important to me. I want to be known as a person who's humble. I want to be known as a forgiving person. I want to be primarily known as someone who's other-centered. I want to be known as being perseverant. I want to be known as someone who is self-control, that practices self-control. I want to be known as courageous, trustworthy, compassionate, intentional, patient, compelled. And this year, my word is transformed. These are words that are important to me. And these are words that make up who my identity is. Now, granted, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a CEO, I'm a city council member, I'm a political candidate, I'm a lot of things, spouse, but my identity comes from what I defined before, and I bring those qualities, those traits to whatever I do. Instead of worrying about who I am based upon what somebody else thinks of me and trying to earn their accolades, their seal of approval, I am who I am, and I bring that to whomever and whatever I do. So, and when I say affirming it, it takes time. You got to identify it. You got to create that for yourself, or someone else is going to do it for you. And trust me, if you're getting it from the accolade side, you're going to lose. How many times do we hear negatives about us, and how much effort does it take for us to overcome that if we listen to that? Now, I'm not saying not to listen and improve, but if somebody says to me the following, Don, that was one of the worst seminars I've ever been to. I will never come to another workshop that you lead again. Now, if I'm getting my identity as a facilitator, an executive coach, or a trainer, what might I tend to do? Get defensive, go on the attack, or run away and cry in my closet? None of that's going to be very helpful, is it? But if I get my identity from whom I am, I'm going to sit there and listen. You know what? Hey, Cameron or Travis, thanks for bringing that to my attention. You know, could you help me out, though? Could you tell me what happened or what didn't happen so I could take that in and process that and make sure I never do that again? And then if they say to me, well, you came across as unauthentic, or let's say lack of patience, well, I'm going to listen to that, because those words are important to me and I can grow. But if someone were to say, well, I didn't like your style and I didn't like your content, I can then say, you know what? I can appreciate that. Tell me a little more about the content you'd like to see. But you see, I learn and grow from that kind of criticism. I can take it or leave it. But the stuff that hits that I really listen to is not performance-based. It's based on the quality of who I am that I brought. It's my words. And boy, do I listen to those, because those are important. I want to grow in those. And so it's not a way of hiding from criticism. It's a way to grow through constructive criticism and improve yourself. So I think this identity thing is really important. It's like, who's pulling your chain? Are you going to let the world pull your chain and every critic out there, or are you going to pull your own? And I decide I pull my own. I like this quote from, and I'm probably going to mess it up a little bit, but Dr. Henry Cloud. I like to read his work, his words. He's got a quote: "You're ridiculously in charge. You get what you allow to happen to you, or what you intend to get. You're in charge, but you got to know what you're in charge of, right?" And that's why I really like that quote. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, identity. And I tell people all the time to be working on those things, because you want to be prepared to be prepared. And that's just another way of saying you want to be working on yourself, so that when you're put in situations and situations develop that you have no idea are coming, you have the ability to capitalize on that opportunity, to learn from that opportunity, or to deliver what needs to be delivered in that opportunity. But that doesn't happen by just reading a book. You have to sit there and consciously be working on yourself so you can bring it to the game. Because you never know when that game's going to start. So you want to be working on yourself. And that's what I mean about forming your identity. So I hope that's not too long of a response, but I hope it was. I hope it delivers.
So just to kind of follow up, because there's so much there to unpack. What are some of the way? I guess one of my questions would be, you know, how have you decided, over the years, what's been the things that have influenced you to choose the words that you've chosen and to decide who you want to be? How have you, what has
Yeah.
influenced those decisions?
Well, I think, and again, I talk about this to various audiences. So some of the audiences, when I speak to it about, I ask them, help define what's really important to you. What gets you up in the morning? What gives you value to yourself? I mean, why do you value yourself? Think about that. Why do you feel good? Why are you pleased with yourself? Think about those things. What are those values that you hold to? And I'll hear from people loyalty and honesty. And I can tell when I'm talking to military veterans, they'll often say brotherhood, band of brothers. I mean, like the fidelity of thing. They use words like that. Then I'll talk with other people and they'll say, well, it's my faith. And I'll say, well, explain that to me. And they might have a very strong faith of some sort. Many times, because we're in the United States, they have a strong faith in God and in Jesus in particular. And they'll say, so I value, and that's where I'm coming from. I say, I value people. And I really disdain poor leadership because it hurts people. It hinders people being able to be all they can be. It hinders people from living fulfilling lives and achieving their dreams, taking care of their families, things of that nature. So when poor leadership gets in the way, why am I upset? Because the leader's hurting himself? No, they're impacting and devaluing people. And then people will ask me, well, Don, why do you value people? And then that's where my faith component comes in. So for me, I value people because God says people are important. Matter of fact, they're so important, I've done a lot for them. Now, other people might say, well, I value people because of blank. And if that's their motivating factor, that's great. But the important thing is then, so how do I go about valuing people? Well, I want to be a person that does that. And then I start thinking of, okay, I can achieve that by being more patient, by being more, expressing clarity, by being trustworthy, so people would trust me. You don't trust people that aren't trustworthy. That's foolish. So what makes up that? So I study that. Because what I want to be able to do, see, my life is important, has purpose, because I bring value to others. And when you think about it, none of us get anything done in work or in life without other people. Mm-hmm. We don't. We get very little done on our own when you think about what we do. Yeah, we can go out and cut our grass, but that's not much more than that, really. Task, we can do that. But as far as really getting things done, you got to work through people. So because I value people, and I value people because for my reasons, I therefore need to prepare to be in position to help people.
All right. Hey, guys, and thank you so much for joining us today on the Leadership Download. If you found this content helpful and productive for you, just ask you to share or like, comment, or on whatever platform you're listening on. We are on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, so we are across multiple platforms. But we thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Also, check out our free mastermind course coming up on March 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. Here we'll be making some very important announcements. So to find out more and to register, you can go to our website, theleadershipdownload.com.